The subjugation of women within the family and their wageless status or their exploited status within the workplace was crucial for Engels and for Marx and for the socialist feminist tradition that followed. At the same time, it's extremely important to see that the family was considered heteronormative. That is true. Feminism is anti-capitalist. Are all forms of anti-capitalism the same? No. Are all forms of Marxism the same? No. Queer Marxism, which is a field, many people have written on it. Petrus Liu, Jordi Rosenberg, many people have written on queer Marxism. Starts with the presupposition that, which was the presupposition of Marx and Engels, which is that capitalism relies on the family. Capitalism reproduces itself on the presupposition that families are reproducing workers, they're also reproducing genders, they're also reproducing gender hierarchy, where women work for unpaid, they do wages, they have no wages for their housework, right? And you had Silvia Federici, and in this particular set of series, she has done an enormous amount to show what it means that women's labor has been exploited for so long in the name of maternal values, in the name of feminine essence. Now, the subjugation of women within the family and their wageless status or their exploited status within the workplace was crucial for Engels and for Marx and for the socialist feminist tradition that followed. At the same time, it's extremely important to see that the family was considered heteronormative. In other words, the family was always presumed to be heterosexual and bound together by the marriage of a man and a woman, and the reproduction of children who would be their direct issue, right? The children are born within the family, and there is a legacy there that we can draw between mother, father, children. And of course, that meant that for anyone who falls outside of heterosexuality, the heterosexual norm, or who is not in a family structure like that. And who is in that family structure? It's actually the minority social form at this point in the world. Our families are connected, they're outside the household, they're inside the household, they're blended families. We live with our ex-lovers, their children become our children. I don't know, we have many forms of kinship now that do not comport with this idea of the heteronormative family. Now, in places like Brazil, where the attack on gender has been launched in the name of the family, we see that the family that is being preserved is a heterosexual, monogamous family which is reproductive within the terms of the heteronormative family, and that it takes care in an unpaid way of all the basic issues of the material reproduction of life, right? Let's use the Marxist term, the material reproduction of life. Women are doing that. That's their job. They're not paid. That is their natural divine place. And the more the state destroys social services or outsources healthcare or privatizes vaccines, the more it becomes the task of the family to absorb those practices of care that it should be the obligation of states to provide, right? Healthcare, shelter, education. And it becomes a question like, am I making enough money to house my children? Am I supplementing my child's education? Am I able to care for my child's health? these all become intense preoccupations of the family. And it's also the place, the family, where masculine domination in its heteronormative sense is reproduced. So the patriarchalism of the family lays the foundation for the patriarchalism of the state. Now, first of all, it's a very white idea of family. Right? It's a suburban idea of family. It's a property. It's an idea of family that's based on property and masculine privilege. But it restricts us in terms of gender. What gender can you be inside that family? Sexuality, who can you love in the world if you fall outside of the heteronormative domain? And what happens to people who cannot stay home because home is a site of violence or constraint, or where your sexuality and your gender are attacked or demeaned at home? So for many of us, myself included, being a queer kid on the street looking for a place to sleep, is a form of eviction. It's a form of not having shelter, of not having support, of sometimes being excommunicated from your family. They never will speak to you. They will not send you money. They do not care whether you live or die. That's a massive violence that is perpetuated by the family form, and it's exacerbated within the capitalist structure, where evicted people have no rights, where shelter is not provided, where healthcare is not to be presumed. So they become massively precarious. They may not correspond with a conventional idea of the proletariat, but they are the precarious, and that might be the term we need to describe this vast number of people, including migrants and the indigenous, who have been abandoned by states as they ally with capitalism to accumulate wealth and enhance their portfolios.